Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Today we're gonna get taboo. Throughout comic history there are storylines that come to stand out or get reputations, both for good and for ill. You'll hear that storylines are bizarre, or have been poorly received, or baffling, and some are flat out rejected or deemed repulsive. And we're about to go there, to a universe where the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were together. As a couple. Yes, it really happened. While I was gathering what I needed, I saw lots of, no, that would never happen. They wouldn't do that. Comics are for kids. They're thinking about the children. Well, they did, and we're gonna talk about it. Because there's something I've always wondered, and who better to wonder it with than all of you? So before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you enjoy going boldly into the crevices and nooks and crannies of the comic book world, well then hit that subscribe button. Join us on this journey. You never know where we're gonna go. I don't even know. This outing is definitely not for the kids though. Won't somebody please think of the children. The Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver debuted in X-Men number 4 in 1964 and were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. We did a video covering their debut with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. From the start, one of their core character traits was their devotion to each other. Quicksilver couldn't go an issue without working the phrase "my sister" into a sentence. Wanda would talk about him too, but it was less intense. Over time, the characters would be developed, have more expanded backstories, get love interests, and even split off from one another, although they would always remain close. So how exactly did this relationship become a relationship? Well, for that, we have to go over to the Ultimate Universe and take a look at that. Ultimate Marvel, or Ultimate Comics as it would later be renamed, was an initiative to create a jumping on point for new Marvel readers. The thinking was that Marvel history was long and complex and potentially intimidating, daunting to a new reader, but a completely new universe could create wholly new investments both for new and old readers alike. It would be an opportunity to tell new stories, not with new characters, but with the same characters, but altered and different backstory, story beats and the like, and some new legacy characters thrown in. This universe launched in the year 2000. New millennium, new Marvel. This universe would come to be known as Earth 1610. This universe was destroyed in 2015, but it is a superhero comic after all, so it got better. It's been seen since, but its time as a big concurrent alternate universe running alongside the main was behind it. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were both introduced early in the Ultimate Universe's life cycle, in Ultimate X-Men number 1 in 2001. They are in this universe also members of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, or just Brotherhood of Mutants, now I'm adding evil to it. Brotherhood of Mutants. Pietro takes a more active role here, actively seeking approval from his father, who wants nothing to do with him. A very cold and disdainful Magneto. Quicksilver in this universe is just as protective and all about his sister, but he is more volatile. We see in issue 1/2, and he goes berserk when Cyclops makes a move to touch her, and of course he still says "my sister" as much as possible. She kisses Cyclops, and we're later treated to a sequence that is the first hint that their relationship is something more as he talks about their father. But you hated him. No, I love him, and I love you. I'm leaving. Issue 5 sees them lounging, discussing his daddy issues. Poor Pietro. Even when you were a little boy, all you ever wanted was to make him proud. It's kind of suggestive, but it's subtle. More in the background, but it is a question. That is until Ultimates 3 number 1 in 2007. Now, Mark Millar was the one who introduced this plot thread into the world of the Ultimate Universe, but it was Jeff Loeb who would outright solidify it in this series. Everything about this issue from the very start is like a fever dream. We see the Ultimates, who are the Ultimate Universe's Avengers, watching a copy of Tony Stark and Black Widow's sex tape on the big screen. This is poster death in this universe. Listen, the Ultimate Universe was doing a lot of things all the time. Some of them worked and landed, and other things really didn't. This issue is called Sex, Lies, and DVD. Right away you can see that we're moving out of the realm of the hey, maybe, and into the yeah, that's what's happening, when you see them cuddled up on the couch. Later in the issue, as they descend hand in hand, they are confronted by Captain America. He's there to shame Wanda about her outfit. He says that they're there to set an example, and maybe she should go change. She's not going outside like that young lady. She has nothing to say about this, and even if she did, Quicksilver gets there first. He's in full "I'm speaking for my sister" mode, and who dares talk to my sister? He points out that it's none of Captain America's business how she dresses, and when Cap grabs Wanda by the arm as she walks away, Pietro says that if he comes near his sister again, he'll kill him. Stand down, Pietro. We're all on the same side. Regarding my sister, there's only one side, and that's me. Merry Christmas, Steve. Steve is confused about Pietro's extreme reaction, but Janet, the Wasp, fills him in. You don't get it, Mr. Rogers, do you? They love each other. Of course they do. They're brother and sister. No, it's more than that. They're in love. But, so, okay. We're doing it. Well, what comes to this revelation? Nothing productive. While out, just as Pietro is about to tell Wanda that he'll always love her, a gunshot goes off, and despite his best efforts and speed, the bullet goes through him and hits Wanda, killing her. That's right, she dies the same issue this is confirmed. Plus, we get a gratuitously sexy death panel. Now, I'm not saying that we have to ignore the angles and curves in her form while drawing her prone, but I am saying that there's a difference between this is how people look fallen over and here, look at her butt. I like my tight booties alive, thank you very much. It's just exploitative and extra, but all of Ultimates 3 is like that. So it's not like this is a unique occurrence. The tale of Wanda and Pietro's incestuous love is not done, however. Ultimates 3 just keeps coming back to it. Issue 3 of this series introduces the plot thread that their father may potentially be Wolverine and not Magneto, as Wolverine had a one-night stand with Magda, their mother, years prior. Why is this plot thread added? This issue also establishes that part of Pietro's attraction to Wanda may stem from the fact that she looks like their mother. Cause why not? After a failed attempt to assassinate Pietro at the behest of Magneto, because he is stopped by the Scarlet Witch who manifests dinosaurs into reality, the two siblings consummate their relationship, while Wolverine, their potential dad, watches from the bushes.
Spurned by his father, desperate for his mother, Pietro found in Wanda a kind of love that no one in this room can really understand.
And what did Wanda get out of it? What's her perspective in all this? I thought so. But oh no, we're not done. Who murdered Wanda? That is a thread that needs to be solved in this series. It was Ultron. Ultron had fallen in love with Wanda after she flirted with one of his units, so decided on an elaborate scheme to eliminate his rival for her heart, her brother, Pietro. But upon seeing them in the street, he realized she would never be his, and so love turned to hate. If Ultron couldn't have her, then no one could. Where to begin? Well, first at the beginning point of yes, this really happened. Not in the main verse, but in the 1610, which was still a big deal. For its time and in its heyday, it was a parallel universe, releasing titles concurrently alongside the regular one. And this relationship even made its way onto covers early on. The most famous is this one for Ultimates issue 8 from 2002. I've seen this pose again recently, but where? Oh yes, indeed. Safe space and Snowflake. Please don't do this again. We already did this. No more. Let it go. When it comes to this storyline, this explicit demonstration of the taboo relationship between these characters, I've always had one reaction, and that is, why? The Ultimate Universe was all about trying new things and making changes, playing with new ships and pairings, but why this one? Now, if one takes a hard look at some of the early panels depicting the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, it could be noted that if one jumped in and took out the word balloons, it would be quite possible to make the assumption that these two were a couple. The touching is comparative to a romantic couple in many panels, and they frequently go out together to events on the town and the like. Some may even have felt that there was a subtle coding in place all along for these two, while others would feel their closeness came from their unique circumstances and their twin bond. However, if the former belief was the case, or if it was simply a thread one wanted to tug on, again the question is why? In the early issues of the Ultimate Universe, where it still remains in the realm of heavy hinting, there isn't really a mention of it being an homage to earlier depictions or anything like that. Or at least I couldn't find anything from any of the creative teams discussing that as a theme that they really wanted to explore, or why. Then the even bigger question, why take it from that realm of, yeah, it's probably happening, but we can ignore it and maybe it isn't, to bam, yes it is. Deal with it. Why make it explicit when that could get one into the realm of receiving potential complaints or getting in trouble? And I'm sure some complaints came in anyway. Now this plot, as uncomfortable as it may be for some, as mentioned, doesn't spring entirely out of nowhere. There are some kernels that could be the reason for why people would want to explore it. But again, that why lurks. Incest as a taboo topic has been explored in many pieces, but when it happens, there is usually a purpose of some kind. To demonstrate this, we're going to look at 3 occurrences and different handlings of this topic across media. And then we're going to compare it to this Quick Witch situation. Spoilers for all the things I'm about to talk about, and just in general on this channel always. We're going to look at Flowers in the Attic, Koi Kaze, and A Simple Favor. Flowers in the Attic is part of a book series by the late V.C. Andrews, who's been ghostwritten for so long that her catalog of original books is now dwarfed by her ghostwriters. Her works had a dark gothic tone. They lived there and played with the taboo, and yet what was played with was set up and established in the plot. In Flowers in the Attic, in a bid to resume her normal life, the mother of 4 children stashes them in the attic of her grandmother's house where she grew up, and they grow up there together, meaning the only people that they see are each other. Going through puberty alone and isolated and having to take on parental figures for the younger twins, the 2 older siblings develop an incestuous relationship together, and one that follows them even after they leave the attic. This is an example of the dark fantasy exploitative approach, a salacious look at the dark side of human nature, but firmly rooted in an explanation as to how one arrived at the place that they are in. Also coupled with a genre that lets you know what you're in for. Now some may argue that Ultimates 3 gives us this, because it has a couple of lines of explanation by Wolverine, And it does line up with some of what we've seen previously with Quicksilver. However, while that is the case, it doesn't really match the tone of the rest of the work, i.e. the superhero action adventure comic book genre that it's working in. Unless we're just going to expand to general all exploitation, which really seems to be the case with Ultimates 3, to be honest. Ultimates 3 is a tale of excesses. Excesses that are distracting from the overall story. And it's a story that could have been interesting, although I would have kept Wanda alive, as her death very much reduces her to emotional fodder. Like, if we're gonna do this and get all taboo like that, it'd be nice to see what her perspective is too. As it stands, she feels very much like a non-entity. A cold non-entity. That coat was open and it was snowing and there was so little there. Captain America should try a different approach. He should have tried, "You'll be cold, young lady." So while the story is salacious, it is so in a manner that while it matches the overall outrageousness of the series, is out of step with the tone or theme in general. Or at least it feels that way. Mileage may vary. And for some, even if it matches, that may not be enough for them to see why such well-known characters are being taken down such a controversial path. So what are some other approaches one can take when one does a narrative like this? Well, there is a social commentary or examination of how much of our perceptions are shaped by societal expectations. For this, we can look at Quicksilver, the tale of a lonely man who finally makes a connection only to discover later on that she is in fact his sister. They must then wrestle with the familial bonds that entails, battling against the romantic feelings they had already developed before realizing they were related. So the audience is then placed in the position of having to examine the societal constructs surrounding family, and what circumstances would have to arise for them to want to break them. Also that age gap, because Koikaze is doing all the things. Feel uncomfortable. It's challenging and uncomfortable. Deep. That is not the case with Ultimates 3. This is very much meant to shock and titillate. So what's another big reason? Well, that of course is the plot. Any relationship can be used to drive the plot, but with one like this, it usually is used for a big plot reveal or twist, or something that's going to cause big ripple effects or problems later on. For that usage of it, we can take a look at a simple favor. Their secret incestuous relationship for one protagonist may have resulted in a child and is the cause of jealousy later on for her husband and blackmail against her from someone she thinks of as a friend. In short, it's an integral part of the action, and the story would not be the same without it. It adds a layer to the character, as you learn there's more to her than she appears. The goody-goody rule follower on the surface is actually someone capable of bucking norms and keeping dark secrets. So is the relationship integral to the plot? Well, as mentioned earlier on in this universe, it's only hinted at in the shadows, so really it could be pushed back entirely. And Ultimates 3, no, not really. Ultron could have experienced this jealousy over anyone, not specifically Pietro, or could have killed her for another reason, and the story wouldn't change all that much. It just feels like a tacked on part to the characters. And so once more, I'm just left with that gaping gap of why. You can do this plot or play with these themes in a compelling way. However, because of what it is, you are guaranteed pushback. So if that is the case, at the very least, it could be something that is employed and utilized well or for a purpose. Give me something. Give me a rationale. Please, I'm begging you. Any of the examples above combined, I'll take anything. I've searched for just a concrete "we did this because" statement. And if you have found one, please send it my way. You will make my day so much better. At this point, I'd even accept, oh, I watched Ouran High School Host Club and thought, twincest, let's do it. It's just an odd choice, and one that sticks with you, and one that has trickled down into their future portrayals. In the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the actors talked about how this did filter down to how they played them. With Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Wanda Maximoff, now dubbed the Scarlet Witch since 2021's WandaVision, stating, "They're always so close. It's almost uncomfortable." Aaron and I have been playing a little bit with those kinds of images just for ourselves. So yes, this happened. Why do you think this happened? Share your thoughts. Tell me how you feel about Ultimates 3, which was not exactly beloved by fans of the Ultimate Universe. Do you feel that they had an overly close vibe starting from those classic 60s panels? I just want to hear it all, so leave it down below. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day spent discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.